Yeah, there you go.
Okay, all right, you want to talk McIntosh at 62 points or Dan Hollins at 87 points?
Welcome to the Rugby Rant podcast show, your premier North American rugby podcast. Growing rugby, one fan at a time.
What's going on, Rugby Rant fans? It is Rob the Hammer Hammerschmidt, and I am joined by two vets of the Rugby Rant. I mean, these guys, when we need somebody to come in and be the lefty, we need a reserve to jump in there and pick up the mantelpiece and throw some strikes and get some people out. These are two of the guys we call. We got Mike Perazzini and Darryl McCormick. How you guys doing?
Excellent.
Hanging in there, doing good.
Still buzzing from last night.
So, yeah, and they're like on opposites, right? We got Darryl, who's got a team in town now, and Mikey, who doesn't have a team in town. I got to ask you, Mikey, who are you rooting for? Scott declared his allegiance to, of course, the Chicago Hounds. Mike Perazzini, the Grand Poobah, is taking his talents to
the MLR. I'm going to pull the Rob Lowe. I think I'm going to buy an MLR hat and just go, yay, sports. But I'll say this, before there was, Rugby New York, I was a Legion supporter. And so I'll passively root for the Legion. They've, always, a bridesmaid, never a bride. Hopefully they pull through this season and win one finally.
Yeah. And look at Darryl sporting that
right
Anthem shirt, right? That has something special at the bottom there. Why don't you show people what you got?
Yeah. Yeah. The first 1,000, into the stadium.
What's it say at the bottom of the shirt under the A? We can't see it.
I'll move this down a bit.
There we go. This is not a dick pic, folks.
No, I'll keep it above that. So yeah, it was and on the back it says let's play rugby or time for rugby, Charlotte, or something like that. So
there you go.
Cool. So yeah, they gave out about 1,000 of those, and then they launched some more during halftime. So without the cannon, by the way, it was just some gals just winging it. So they did a good job. So yeah, it was.
Well, guys, there's some marrying girls out there that'll breed your quarterback.
Yeah, man.
All right. So, all right. Well, without further ado, we're going to get a rocking and rolling, and we're going to get to a segment that we like to call Around the Pitch, where we bring you some maybe under the radar news in the rugby world in the United States. We'll be back in just a moment after these words.
When we pick up the ball, we also pick up a legacy. A legacy that stretches beyond your current team. A legacy built on the backs of those who came before you with hard work. And for those who will come after you, we promise it won't be easy. But we'll be there, supporting you on and off the field.
All right, we're back. And I want to, before we get going here, throw a special shout out to a good buddy that I've gotten to know this last weekend. For those that don't know, I spent the weekend down in New Orleans, at least part of it. I was blessed enough to be able to call the color on the NOLA Gold Old Glory game. I did okay. I think I'd grade myself at a C, but if you have any constructive criticism, that will help. Should I get another chance? That's great. But I want to throw a shout out, more importantly, to my guy, David Terrio, or Dennis Terrio, excuse me. Dennis gave me this awesome jersey from last year, and I got it signed by Harley Wheeler, who wore it. So I want to throw a shout out to him. Thank you very much. Dennis, I appreciate it. It was wonderful meeting your lovely wife and yourself. We had a nice breakfast pregame. A lot of fun was had by all. But let's get into Around the Pitch, and we're going to start first with the Grand Poobah. What do you got, my brother?
So they released it, I think, the news last week, but Pacific Nations Cup Rugby is going to be back this year. So it's basically I would say Western Hemisphere's version of the Six Nations kind of tier 2, tier 3. It's USA, Canada, Japan, Fiji, Samoa, and Tonga. And they split it up into two groups. So it's USA, Canada, Japan in one group, Fiji, Samoa, and Tonga in another. You're going to have one home game, one away game, and then it's going to be this year. It's going to be played. The championship is going to be played in Japan. Next year, championship is going to be played in USA. So switching on and off. Everyone gets one. Yeah, like I said, everyone gets one home game. And it's going to be free to watch on Rugby Pass TV. So it's great to see rugby is expanding throughout the U.S. I know rugby and in general has been targeting both USA and Japan as kind of the future giants to come into the game. So it's good to see that they're getting their due, as well as bringing more rugby in a higher like limelight to Fiji, Samoa, and Tonga, who always do well, but never really get, the credit they deserve. So hopefully it's going to, a tournament for the ages.
Yeah. I think that's a pretty cool event. One of the things that I appreciate is an opportunity for us to really sharpen our skills and hone our skills against some pretty solid rugby playing nations. And quite frankly, it's another opportunity for USA Rugby to get away from that damn Flow Rugby, which costs the rent is just too damn high, if you know what I'm saying. So that's good to hear. All right, without further ado, Mr. Darryl McCormick.
Yep.
Charlotte, Rugby Carolinas is the fan group, right?
Yeah, Rugby Carolinas. That's the Facebook page. Yep. Since I've been following the league, which was 2018, I've always been kind of interested in the kind of more the behind the scenes, what goes on to put this all together, get butts in seats, basically. And having followed different teams, I saw different strategies and whatnot. So one of the things I found out about Anthem is that all the ticket sales, all the marketing is actually run by the stadium, the American Legion Memorial Stadium. And so what happened is that they were very, very efficient. They were really aggressive. I got a phone call from the ticket office asking if, what was planning on going and blah, blah, blah. But in the past, like what I saw at other teams, people were trying to reach out on social media like, hey, I'm having trouble getting this ticket online. Who do I talk to? No phone numbers, no contacts, no nothing. People were really struggling. With these guys, they had their act together. They had phone numbers, people to talk to, live humans. And not only that, they were able to tie into Carolina Ruggerfest, which was this past weekend in Charlotte. They do it every year. Hundreds and hundreds of kids, teams from everywhere. They tapped into that. They got a lot of the kids to the game. And then last week they sent out an email saying, hey, just FYI, folks, we're moving everybody to one side of the stadium. You'll have your same seat, same location, same section, just opposite side of the stadium. And I think that played out huge. I said, good on you, because it'll show better on TV, which it did. So it's kind of a little behind the scenes that I kind of find interesting. But so far, those guys really, really did a good job. And I think the fans kind of showed that in their numbers and their enthusiasm.
Yeah, smart marketing makes a world of difference. And it sounds like they really did a nice job in getting folks into that stadium, because it did show really well on TV. I certainly appreciated that. And I'm going to get into my around the pitch. I'm not sure how low on the radar this was for anybody, but I think it's monumentally important. Just announced today, deadline.com. It's a little bit more of like a Hollywood type of website, but to their article as of 3/4 today, by Jesse Whittock, I believe is the author's name. The title of the article is Chicago Hounds subject of a docu-series from the MLR and Goldfinch about the growth of rugby union in North America. Goldfinch is a British independent finance and production company. They produce on they're going to produce on an American Access docu-series, all access docu-series. This year it's going to be about the Chicago Hounds. They're filming the first season, and the whole thing is a 10-year commitment, and it's going to be called Stars, Stripes, and Scrums, the American Rugby Journey. Owners Peter Bernick from the Chicago Hounds and Matt Satchwell have been negotiated the deal along with Nick Benson from the MLR. So kudos to all of them. I mean, after we've seen Amazon's All Blacks, All or Nothing, TRN doing Behind the Scrum several years ago, Netflix Full Contact, let's see, Prime, Mud, Sweat, and Tears Rugby Premiership is coming out soon. And we know how docuseries can raise the visibility of, sports. And I think it was really smart marketing to do that and get the MLR involved. And no doubt the Chicago Hounds, it's going to be fun to be a part of that, or at least watch it on a very close level. So that should be interesting to see.
Nice.
So with that, that's around the pitch. We hope you picked up something new that you didn't know before. If we did, we did our jobs right. And speaking of doing our jobs right, I want to remind everybody you guys can jump in on Super Brew Rugby Rant. I think knows afar is the code. So jump on. You look, everybody has a bad week. You can get in and still win the prizes at the end of the month, especially if you're a real sharpshooter. 18 weeks, plenty of opportunity to win yourself some prizes. And even at that, you can win yourself a weekly prize of $25 gift card. So jump on in, Super Brew. That would be Rugby Rant podcast, and then knows as far as the code. Speaking of weekly winner, I want to announce the first week's winner from week 1 of the MLR, and that is congratulations to Lachlan Charlie. Week 1 winner, $25 gift card coming your way, courtesy of Rugby Now's Power Shop MLR. There is gear available. Teams are bringing it in. We got Houston, we got Chicago, we got the Free Jacks. We got, I think LA dropped. So a lot of stuff is dropping. Go get your gear now. Thank you very much to Rugby Now for playing your role and your part in bringing us Shop MLR. It's awesome stuff. And Lockie, my son's roommate, congratulations, mate. All right, with that, we're going to hear a word from our sponsors, and we'll be back with the Rugby Rant in just a moment. And welcome back, Rugby Rant fans. Thank you very much to Rugby Now, a special partner. Keeps the lights on. Nevertheless, we're coming in hot, as Scott would say. He's probably got a little bit of a fever tonight. That's why he couldn't join us. He's feeling a little hotter than normal. But we're coming at you with our Rugby Rant segment. And the topic for today, of course, is week 1 in the MLR 2024. Each of us are going to take a spin at our good from the week, our bad from the weekend, I should say, and our ugly from the weekend. Talk a little bit about those and just get our perspective. So I'm going to start first with with Darryl McCormick. Darryl McCormick, you're going to get the first shot at the good.
That's the good
of week 1 in MLR 2024.
Well, that's easy for me. So we're going to start with the good in Charlotte, North Carolina. So the inaugural home game of Anthem Rugby, Carolina. And it came off very, very well. We got lucky. We had some good weather. It was a beautiful, beautiful night. And crowd, we had an official number of 2,307 people, which actually it felt a lot like a lot more people because the crowd was loud. And as I mentioned earlier, they'd done a really good job with ticket sales, and they ended up putting everybody on the same side. So everybody was compact. So it was more of a party atmosphere. We had clubs sitting over here, different clubs, and kids ended up in a corner and took all their shirts off, waving the towels. And it was just a great atmosphere. And everybody was just super excited. So I think they pulled it off in a great way. And then the team, nobody was really, holding out a lot that the team was going to, beat the reigning champions, but they played really spunky. I was actually pleasantly surprised that I didn't think they'd even score a try, but they ended up scoring 2 tries. And so it was really exciting. The crowd really got behind it. So it was a ton of fun and a great way to start professional rugby in Charlotte.
Yeah, 100%. Shout out, by the way, to Tyron Aljabori, LU guy, scoring that try. It was a pretty try, maybe possibly offsides, but I'm glad the TMOs. I mentioned it last week in the rant that there's kind of been the head of officials Wilkinson has said, look, it's clear and obvious is kind of the name of the game for the TMO to call down to the field and want to review something. So unless it's clear and obvious, they won't call down and they kind of let the boys play. And I think we saw that carried out throughout the weekend. The TMO kind of kept themselves out of it. And that's to say that, the official could call up if he wants to review something, but they're not going to insert themselves in the game. I think that was pretty cool in that particular try. Awesome stuff, Darryl.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. It was a blast.
Good. We'll hope it continues, and as it grows, hopefully we see those crowds get bigger and bigger each week. So
absolutely.
All right, Grand Poobah, what do you got, my man?
I was going to say the good for me was the fact that the vast majority of the matches were incredibly tight. I think 2 matches came down to, last minute scores, either by drop goal or a try within like the last, I think 5 or so minutes. So you love to see that, that happening. The other thing that I love to see was, the disbursement of, the Rugby New York players. It was cool to see them, out playing for their new teams. I think the biggest fear that everyone had going into the season was, 2 teams drop, another team moves. Is the quality of play going to drop as well? But with 2 teams dispersing those players, it seems like the quality of play is actually only improved. And hopefully we see some, a lot more great games throughout the season.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think the league did a very good job. Scott and I talked about it last week, is that, week 1, we had all conference games where all the teams were playing within the conference, which was pretty cool. We like to see that. All right, so that was awesome, and it is good to see the Rugby New York guys spread around and finding good homes. And we have a couple of them here in Chicago that I've had a great opportunity to talk with.
I was going to say it was great to see. I think the 2 things that stood out in my mind was in the Miami game. I think Ben Benasso was jumped over a ruck to try and punch Dylan Fawcett in the face, which I thought was hysterical. And then in the LA game, I think Jason Emery did like crossfield kick right into Andrew Coe's, hands for a try. So it's it was like they never, stopped playing for Rugby New York. It just, just moved to a different team. So it was great to see that, same old.
Yeah. 100%. All right. So what did I select as my good? It's funny. We each kind of had a different take on the weekend. For me, my good was the Seattle-San Diego game. It was one of the games that, as we talked about it several weeks ago, we were looking at the calendar and, what games would we watch? We obviously watch our favorites. I'm going to watch, my loyalties are split between the Hounds and Nola Gold. So I'm watching 2 games every weekend for sure. But what other games would I pay attention to? And that was the one I had ticked on my calendar, Seattle and San Diego. It's always a hot match. It's always a contested match. So I selected this. I thought that the defending Western champs would have the edge going into this one. They only lost 1 match last season, but Seattle pulled it out 25-19, although San Diego got that bonus point by keeping it tight within 7. Seattle was limited to, a 4-point win. They didn't get a bonus point. So I think we're going to see a tight race in the West, right? So that's pretty cool. And like I said, San Diego had 1 loss last year, 2023. Here it is week 1. They already have a loss. So let's see what happens from there. And there were a lot of cool moments, big hits, one by Joe Taufete. I mean, he just lit somebody up and the ball went to spilling. And it was like that for, the first 20 minutes. They just got some great hits. Poitevin was in there. He's one of my favorites to watch. And then that moment where Henderson kicks what we thought would be the go-ahead penalty, right? And he turns to the Seattle crowd and does one of these, right, to shut down the 16th man, and then Seattle comes back and wins the game, and they kind of get the last laugh. I mean, that to kind of sum up Mikey, that is what defined the weekend. And if we have 18 weeks of that, my God, we're going to love it.
Don't let it begin.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. All right, let's go back the other way. Mikey, give me your bad.
I was going to say, I had two bads, and one, I don't even know if it was really that bad. It's just rusty play on both players and refs. It just seems like, it's the beginning of the season. We're going to see that rusty play. Refs maybe making a little iffy calls, maybe missing a couple of things, not in, the full step. Same with players, not really, doing what they should do. I don't know if that's a bad as much as it is just it is what it is. The thing that I think though was bad was, you had two matches that ended up starting after 10 o'clock on the East Coast. On Saturday and Sunday. I was fortunate enough to play rugby this past weekend. I stayed up and I ended up falling asleep to the San Diego Seattle game. I woke up in the middle of the night at around 12 o'clock and the game was still being played. What the heck is going on? So I saw the final 10 minutes, which is kind of cool. I was like, oh, I guess it's still playing on my phone. I guess I'll watch this. But for East Coast times, it was just horrible to have two games past 10 o'clock. So that was really bad for me.
Well, yeah, I can't argue with that. But you got to see the most important part at the very end.
Exactly.
Fast forward to the end.
Yeah,
it's like my mind told me, wake up, you got to see this.
So I think it was John Thurgood said that would be called bad. So, all right, Darryl, McCormick, what do you got for your bad from week one?
My bad. I watched the Miami game and, or most of it. And, the announcers, I believe, are Argentinian, I think. Heavy Latin accents, which is, considering the market, it's perfect for the market. I just don't know how it played in Peoria, if you will, because the accents were pretty thick. But they know the game. They obviously called it well. I just thought it was. I didn't expect that, and so I thought it was not really bad. I guess it just was. Those of us who watch a lot of international rugby, we're used to that. I've watched games in Italian, so because we just watched the game. But I just thought it just felt kind of odd. And it was a little hard to follow them at times, but that's not super bad, but I just found it a little awkward.
Yeah, Superbad's a movie though, just in case. At any rate, yeah, it's interesting. By the way, that was the Chicago game, just so you know.
Yes.
So, but no, I think it's rather interesting.
Is that who they were playing
again? Yeah. It's a debate, right? Because on one hand, like if you think about baseball, baseball is very regional. Unless it's the game of the week, you get the regional call, or the local call, because it's more of a regional game. You don't get or like when you used to watch Cubs games on WGN, somebody in Phoenix who was from Chicago could watch the Cubs game. They get the Cubs announcers, right? Or it's like listen to the radio call, right? If you're on XM or something like that, you're getting a local call. So there's going to be homerism, right? Which we get. Right. And we get that actually if you watch Utah or when I made the call NOLA, it was hard not to show your spirit, your colors when you actually support a team. So it's kind of that eternal debate. What do which do you like? And then on the other hand, like hopefully they're not speaking to their market, right? Their market's in the stadium.
Right.
So it's kind of that interesting debate. You raise a great point. I love it. My bad. I'm going to go to the same game, the Chicago game, and my bad's a 30-minute thunderstorm delay, and I'm not blaming my bad on anybody. Mother Nature is Mother Nature, and you can't control it. You can only deal with it. And it was a rain-soaked Miami opener, and that's what I'm saying. It wasn't on anybody's fault. I wish they would add better weather for their opener, just like Carolina did. That's I just feel bad for them. Right. But in spite of that, they had a great crowd. It looked like their owners outside soaking it in, just like every other fan, which was cool too. Kudos to him, wrapped up outside in the elements, sucking it up just like all the rest of the fans did. He gets a good mark from me. Okay. If there is, but speaking to Mike's point earlier, the handling was sloppy. The weather intensified that. When otherwise it should have been a very open, high octane match, I would have suspected. Here was what I think was bad. And again, I think it speaks to the weather, not that I'm blaming it on the teams. The ball in play, 27 minutes, 15 seconds. Right? Ball in play. At the international level, folks are looking for an 80-minute game. They're looking for about 41 to 42 minutes. Right? That's international level. For context, the 2023 final, granted, two of the best teams, one very defensive, one very offensive. That was, by context, 41 minutes ball in play. So it gives you a little bit of an idea of what we're looking for at that high level in the MLR and where things were last night. That being said, I think the next highest ball in play, or the highest ball in play of the weekend was 33 minutes, 39 seconds. So, maybe it's a product of what Mike spoke to earlier. The Grand Poobah definitely had his Poobah hat on when he was talking about, knocking the rust off and getting through that first match. So that's my bad. All right, we're going to go back around, pick up where we left off. Darryl McCormick, give us your ugly.
Yeah, well, we'll just carry the theme of sloppy play. Given, hey, it's the first game of the year. Players haven't been together all that long. But what was most concerning for me is just the lack of backline attack I would like to see more tries. Now, sometimes, like in Seattle and San Diego game, the weather was not great. Miami, Chicago, obviously, it was very wet conditions. So you're going to, expect some drop balls. But some of the other games just around the league, the ones that I've been able to watch so far, it's just a ton of drop balls, and not all from player impact hits either. It's just friggin' dropping the ball. But I'm mostly concerned about the lack of producing tries and the fact that a lot of teams struggle to put effective phases together and just, make it all happen in a smooth way. I'm sure it'll get better as the season goes on, but my goodness, it's like, it's tough to watch, when they're still not gelling yet. So that was my ugly.
Yeah, it's funny you say that because as you're talking, I'm like, yeah, is that a product of not having much of a preseason where, some of the teams had 2 preseason games? I know that when I spoke with Corey Brown, the head coach of the Noel Gold last week, he said it was frustrating that Old Glory didn't have any preseason games from which to look at any video or get a sense for what the team was like. So, maybe as we move forward, hopefully see a bit more preseason, maybe some of that rust that Mikey spoke about, it gets knocked off earlier. So now the ugly, Mikey, what do you got?
I think there was only one truly ugly thing, and that was the LA versus Dallas match. And I'm not even talking about the play on the field. I am talking about the stadium, the atmosphere, everything surrounding that. From what I can tell, so they played in LA right after the HSBC Sevens. They had maybe 500 people in the stands. So you just had, the Sevens tournament. You can't capture all those. You didn't capture all those people. That's fine, whatever. That being said, you're trying to play a 15s match after a sevens tournament. I think the sevens tournament that day started at 9:30 a.m. and it finished around 6:45, 6:50, 7 o'clock, at which point you wanted to have a game at 7:45. So it seemed like they tried to squeeze too much too quickly. Apparently it was impossible to find tickets where they were selling tickets online for the LA game. There were apparently no concessions in the stadium either. So it just seemed like it was, they tried to do something where they were trying to, maybe roll all this rugby in together. It backfired on them. And it created like what seemed to be a mediocre product at best. Fortunately enough, the game was good, but it didn't seem like anyone was there. And from what we could tell, no one who was there had any actual fun. So,
well, Mike, you and I I swear to God, folks, we did not share notes before the start of the show because I mean, he just took everything I was going to say. I would have to agree. I mean, going back to start time, we're talking about what was it? The game started at 8:30 Eastern.
That game started at 10:45 Eastern time.
10:45 Eastern time. Therefore, it ended at probably 1:30.
Yeah.
Right? On the East Coast, so how many people are watching that? It's just, oh my God, what such a bad choice. Crowds weren't good, as Mikey said. Beer sales stopped after the sevens. So there's no beer for sale. What they didn't tell anybody about the tickets is that you could, if you bought a ticket, to get a ticket, you had to buy tickets to the LA Sevens. So from what some people shared, all the money was going to the LA Sevens. It wasn't going at all to LA, to the club. Oh, what a nightmare. I mean, it would be nice to see them market this and organize it a little bit better. But definitely after 3 days of sevens, who's going to stick around and watch a 15s match?
Right.
Exactly. So, that was pretty ugly. I agree, Mikey. And, hopefully people learn lessons from these things and don't make the same mistakes moving forward. So, with that, we had the good, bad, and the ugly from the weekend. What matches, are there matches coming up this week that we're looking forward to before we close out today? What are you guys interested in seeing on the week? Have you guys looked at all at matches and what we got cooking for week 2?
Yeah, actually, I have not. So I haven't got that far. I was just trying to get to this last weekend. So, I'm embarrassed to say I have not even looked ahead. Other than, in fact, I don't even know who Anthem plays next weekend. They're on the road, I know, but
they're on the road.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'm pulling up.
I've got it right now. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'm pulling up the schedule. So, what do we got starting week March 9th? For week 2, we got the Free Jacks playing host to Old Glory. I hope the weather is the worst weather known to man. I hope that Free Jacks fans, especially Bozo, suffers miserably in the cold and that he gets frostbite and has to miss week 3. And then you got Utah Warriors playing host to the Chicago Hounds at Harriman. Nola Gold, Darryl, Nola Gold.
Okay.
Are playing host to the Anthem.
Okay.
In the gold mine. Seattle once again will play host. They got some snow this last weekend, so it'll be interesting to see the extreme weather that Miami plays in on the bookended weeks here. Mm-hmm. And then I tell you, it looks like an interesting match on March 10th. That would be Sunday at 3:00 Central. Dallas plays host to San Diego. We'll find out if Dallas, the leader of the Western Conference, has the ganas to stay up there in the standings against last year's conference champ. RFC LA plays host to the Saber Kittens, and the Cats had a nice weekend, so it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. And that rounds out the week. Mikey, you looking forward to any of those? I mean, you're like Switzerland. You're neutral. What are you watching?
Yeah, I was gonna say that LA game against Houston, it might be a good game. We saw like the flashes in the pan that LA has, especially that first half, but didn't seem like they could finish out that game in the second. So it'd be interesting to see if they could put that all together. Play a complete game against Houston. Utah and Chicago as well, I think is going to be another, tight game. I think for what we could tell, all these matchups look great again. If, it's the same thing that happened week 1 as, happens week 2. It's a toss up for anyone really.
Yeah. Yeah. Couple. So Darryl, you're not making the trip down to the gold mine, I assume.
I'd like to one of these days. I got to get for sure. But actually, it'll be interesting because none of the there's only 4, maybe 5 foreign slots on Anthem's side, and none of those players are even, if they're in the States, they're not cleared to play yet. So 100% all American players, and so it'll be kind of interesting to see how they come together. On the road, if they could put a little more defense together, if they can tighten up their scrums at all. So it'll be a great test, and we'll see how they pull it out. And by the way, I just saw today Sydney Tobias signed with Houston. Sydney played for Atlanta last year and had gone back and signed a contract in South Africa, but apparently he's able to get out of that. So he's come to Houston. So he'll join Johan Momsen, who's also ex-Atlanta. So several more South Africans there. So it'll be fun. I don't know if he'll play this weekend. Probably not, but it's good to see him back in the league because he's a great guy and a great player.
Yeah. So I got to tell you, I mean, if the Anthem have an opportunity to put some points in that NOLA had a pretty solid defense this weekend against Old Glory, but sure didn't put up a lot of points until the end of that second half. So it might be a tighter game than people suspect. We'll see how NOLA plays against Anthem, but that'll be an interesting game to watch.
Well,
I got to tell you, out of this lot, I'll, of course, watch the Hounds game. That might be the Hounds-Warriors game, might be the one that I pay the most attention to, simply because that'll tell us and give us a better barometer for, if the Hounds have reversed their fortunes, like I suspect they have, and are going to really be a team that's going to make a nice run in the postseason. So that'll be interesting. A number of good games, on the slate for this weekend. Check them out. Should be a lot of fun to watch in week 2. And folks, you got that merch crawling in to shop MLR, so check it out. There's some good gear. Just make sure that you size up. And I will tell you, if you're ordering hoodies or anything like that, I was down in the gold mine this weekend, so I normally wear in a Paladin a double X jersey in the game jersey type, to give me a more of a club fit. Because I'm not looking to pull the sweater on and get in the game. But then in the hoodie, the zip down hoodie that they had in the Kappa, I wore a single X in the Paladin. I would put a double X on in the zippered hoodie. So just to give everybody an idea of how to size appropriately if you're ordering from Shop MLR, so you don't have to send stuff back to get the size that you really want. All right, gentlemen, I appreciate it. I think we had a lot of good, bad, and ugly happening. Hopefully the good gets better, the ugly gets a little less, and you guys get prettier by the day. With that, man, again, it was great to have you both on. You guys are absolute class individuals whenever you come on here, giving us something that every fan can benefit from from your knowledge being dropped from your silvery tongues. And I can't wait to have you guys on throughout the season, because you definitely lend some knowledge and some love of rugby for anybody that's listening. And with that, folks, we appreciate you checking us out this week. Just a reminder, next week we're going to have Stan Vandenhoven joining the show from Miami Sharks. So we'll get them on. I'll have the pleasure of sharing the screen with him, talk a little bit about that rain-soaked affair. And, we'll keep the interviews going as we progress through the season. Looks like we're going to get Nick McCarthy on from the Chicago Hounds, and we'll get some other players from LA and all around the league, so you can get to know the players that are across the league. When they come to town, you can say hi and have a little knowledge about them. With that, I'm Rob the Hammer Hammerschmidt, joined by Mikey the Grand Poobah Perazzini, and Darryl, he needs a nickname, McCormick. And with that, we will see you all at the next.